What's up guys, and welcome back to another video. Hope you're all doing well today. It's a rare occasion that my audio records correctly. However, today is one of them days. The only downside is my video decided not to record correctly, and I was just left with a still frame of me sat on the bike not actually moving, but the engine sound and my voice was all completely fine. So I hate Streamlabs, I hate YouTube, I hate everything. So this is going to be a second take for a change. So I already kind of know the lines around this track and so on and so forth, but I'll do my best to try and talk as if I've never ever played it before. This is the UK Arenacross rounds 1 and rounds 2 at Belfast, and the track was created by J Caesar. I'm not sure on his exact pronunciation of it. I was just going on my most commonly known one. But this is actually a really fun little track. So I myself, there's not really many Arenacross tracks in MX bikes. They're very few and far between. However, I do actually quite enjoy them. Now, I'm on the Honda 250 today just because I thought the 450 Fantic I usually ride would be a little bit overkill. Now, I think this bike actually works really well for this track. I did think that even the 250 might be a bit overkill before I played it. With the two strokes currently being MIA until the 20th of February, this is kind of making the best with what we've got. You know, when in Rome, just do your thing. But the bike actually works really well. There's one or two different rhythms in each of the sections. The whoops themselves quite straightforward, although if you try hitting the corner before it really hard to try and get somewhat of a fast lap, then you can kind of hook out a bit too far, and just like that, where I've hooked further to the right coming out the 180 turn. And I think part of it is where the track is so tight and, well, so small and tight. Don't take that out of context, please, which is to be expected from Arenacross.
If you're enjoying the content so far, please drop a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new. He would really appreciate it. Back to the video.
Then I think another part of it is solely to do with where I main the 450s a lot, and I'm used to the weight of them. I think every time I hop on a 250, they just feel so light and nimble that I end up turning more than I should do, because the muscle memory is saying one thing, the bike's saying something else, and it usually ends up in a few silly crashes. But nonetheless, this is a really fun track. The decals and stuff, I think they could be a little bit on the lighter side. It is pretty dark, which, as you guys know, I'm never usually the biggest fan of. However, the track itself is quite nice. Now, there's an inside rut on that corner before the finish line, and there's an inside rut here as well, that unfortunately I don't really think will ever be used in any sort of competitive way at all. The berms are the best way to go, 100%. Like, there's no two ways about it. This rhythm section right here, I can either double in and then go on off, or I can triple in and then jump from here all the way into the corner. And oddly enough, doubling in actually is faster than tripling in. And I think it's the sole reason that you can stay quite low to the ground, whereas if you triple in, you jump in higher, and I think going on off of the table is always better than using it as a takeoff and jumping super high. So there's a really wonderful thing. Fast line through here is to double in and then go triple. You do have to check up a tiny bit coming into this tight right-hander here, but nonetheless it still works out pretty damn good. Now, I wanted to take this opportunity to just do a little bit of self-promotion here, but it's for a good cause. So you guys will be watching this on Friday the 27th of January. This is also the day that I am going to be live streaming Aerial Round 3, Anaheim 2. Now, for those of you that are unaware, in real life at Anaheim 2 they are doing breast cancer awareness for a round, which I think is really cool, and we're going to replicate that in game as well. So McChicken's been nice enough to make all of the McCreations riders pink bikes. We haven't got separate pink gear, however I do have pink gloves and boots and goggles and so on and so forth. But this Fantic that I've got, the pink one, I won't lie to you, I kind of like it a little bit more than my usual bike, which is very strange because it's literally entirely pink. It's a very unique bike, but for a one-off, I think it's pretty cool to ride. And the cool part about this whole event is, so originally it was just going to be, I think, the two main streamers, like the actual commentating guys, so Navo for EU, and then I think Reaperdoc for NA. There might be someone else in there, I'm not 110% sure. But there's going to be a link to donate to breast cancer awareness, should you wish to do so. I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing. So for my stream on Friday, the day that you should hopefully be watching this, the day of its release, I'll be live streaming Aerial as normal, but down in the description there will be a link to donate to breast cancer awareness rather than myself. And I thought, you know what, as much as I love money, I do also feel like it's good to be charitable every now and then, and it's actually quite wholesome seeing a small community like the MX Bikes one coming together and trying to give a little something back, and I'm all for it. I think it's a brilliant idea. It reminds me a little bit of, I'm sure a lot of you guys have no idea what I'm talking about, but on MX Simulator, I'm not sure if it is still the case, but there used to be a yearly thing that Moto A Go-Go and a bunch of other trek creators would do for St Jude's Hospital, and just kind of similar things like that, where it's just trying to give back and help. And us old gamers, as much as that is a really cringeworthy word to use, it's nice when like the gaming community comes together every now and then and just goes for something bigger than we could ever imagine. And I'm sure that there's many grateful people that we're helping out without ever meeting them or ever having any idea, but it's still a little goes a long way. So that's my game plan. We're going to be doing the normal stream, however it'll be changed up. If you do donate through that at all, please only do so through the description, because anything that goes through like super chat, YouTube takes half of it, so it's a bit of a shame, and then I've got to go and do like the other half and go and do it myself, rather than you just going direct through there and having your own name on it. So yeah, definitely go through the description of all that. But yeah, really good stuff. Now, let's go over this. I won't lie, I'm a little bit rusty today. It definitely helps that I've already played this track for about 10 minutes on the failed video attempt, but over the last week or so I've not touched a game other than maybe a combined half an hour in total over the last 2 days. So I usually pre-record a bunch of stuff when my girlfriend comes down to visit, but this time around I only done a handful of videos and I was missing a few, so I just had to do a quick one here and there. I did kick her out of the room whilst I was recording. There's something about me that just feels really awkward about trying to record in front of someone, but it is what it is. Maybe one day I'll get it down and not be mean and kick her out of the room for 15-20 minutes at a time. But I mean, I feel like now I can kind of focus on grinding the game a little bit more, because I've got 28 hours in the last 2 weeks, which, I mean, for some of you people watching, that's probably quite a lot, especially for the casual players. In terms of the, let's call it the pro scene on this game, that is very minimal. You get the few people here and there that can kind of just hop on once a week and qualify for the mains and be absolutely fine. That's all good. But the guys that are really at the top of their game, I feel like for the most part are really hitting kind of 50+ hours on a consistent basis. So I do need to get them hours up. I hate seeing the total number of hours go up, but it's still, at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it if I see the results improving. I'm in P3 at the moment, so all Gucci, all good stuff, and that's just 450 for EU. For NA, I'm going to be doing the East Coast, so I think I'm racing next week, I believe. I'll have to check the old schedule, but I'm excited for it. I'm going to rock the old Honda 250 that you see here before you, and I've done a very minute amount of testing on it because I didn't want to mess up my 450 muscle memory too much. However, oddly enough, I've tried a few setups, and so far the actual stock Honda suspension feels the most comfortable to me. The only place that I'm struggling is to be like super consistently fast through whoops. Everywhere else I'm A-okay. I slid in Cam's DMs, who has won round 1 and round 2 of the EU 250 series, because he's also on the Honda, and asked if I can try his setup out, and I actually prefer default more than his. I am on his right now, and it's okay, but I just for the massive Supercross tracks, I just wasn't really gelling with it. And I think that's a really good testament to show that a setup that works for one person might not necessarily work for another. It's all to do with different riding styles and so on and so forth. I'm having a lot of grief with this one flat corner. My front end always seems to be tucking. Let's get up and over this. Now, I did do a little bit of a hot lap session towards the end of my video that actually failed, and my best lap was a 22.8, so I'm only 0.8 off, which isn't too shabby. And I'm actually quite tempted to kind of do the same thing and do a little outro on this video of me going for a hot lap, but it took me like 10 or so attempts. I said like, oh, I'll give it 3 attempts and that'll be it, but you know me, in typical fashion, I'm never happy with whatever lap time I get. And you can see I'm running on One Road right now, and it's taken me, so we've spun 20 laps, and you can only just really start to see anything digging in. So if you are one of them people that does like a good old rut forming, I'm not sure how well you can see this on YouTube, but there's one kind of forming just here. Let's have a look at this corner up ahead. Is there much here? Oh yeah, it's a bit more defined in this corner. If you're someone that does like the big old ruts, I would definitely advise going for maybe a 2, 3 or 4 times multiplier rather than the one that I'm using. But yeah, either way, it's actually a really good track, and it's a shame really that you never really get proper Arenacross races on this game, just because, you know, Alan, could you imagine playing an Arenacross race with like people with bad ping and really like just the Provoso netcode? It wouldn't work. I mean, you get enough carnage on a full scale Supercross track. You quite often get a lot of carnage on nationals tracks, and crying out loud, by bumping into people where you've not even hit them on your screen. Imagine. So how many gates do we have on Arenacross? Oh, there's even a double lineup here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 10. We've got 20 gates here. 20 or 22. I didn't count properly. We've got 22 people going into this. I'm sure that half the field will end up over there into the stadium, off to their death. But either way, it's a really fun track. It's laid out really nicely. I think he's got the jump sizes really, really good. You're not kind of limited to one rhythm, as I said at the beginning of the video. If you make a mistake, you can kind of get back into rhythm and double, triple way through the rest of the section. I like the small details, like the tear off sitting on the landing of the finish jump, and just really, really well made track. Nice little hole shot banner right there, and overall it's well put together. It feels like you're in a little Arenacrossy stadium, and I would be quite excited if he made the rest of the rounds of the UK Arenacross series as well. I've not been to too many in my life. The only ones I ever go to is when it's held at the O2 Arena in London, and for the most part, whilst I don't mind watching them, I do find them a little bit boring sometimes. You get the occasional like really dirty takeout, which always is fun to watch, but the racing part, it always does seem to be a little bit of follow the leader, unless you get a really, really aggressive rider. And other than that, I feel like, I'm not sure if any of you guys have any idea what I'm talking about, but the intermissions that they do in between races, when they just try and do any weird and wonderful thing to fill up the gaps. Now, I have seen Edgar Torrentera speedbox about 3 times in my life at these different events, and he's still doing it years later from when I've been to the last one, and I won't lie, it gets a little bit boring after the first time. I thought they'd change things up a little bit by now. But then again, I had the same opinion at the WSX, I think it was round 1 of WSX, where they had guys, I can't remember the name of the brand now, but they had some power tools, like drills and stuff, down on the floor, and they got just pulled a bunch of dads out of the stadium to get them to try drilling this thing the quickest, and it's just things like that. Well, I'll go to an NBA game if I want to see some really interesting halftime entertainment. At motocross, I want it to be about motocross, even if they have to end up bringing out the kids on their electric, like on their e-bikes to ride around. I would rather that than seeing a random guy beatboxing. But I mean, fair play for being multi-talented. If you can hit a backflip and then 10 seconds later go and do some beatboxing in front of everyone, then fair play to you, Mr. Torrenteras. You knock yourself out. Just not for me. But I think that'll do it for me. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and try and run a bunch of heaters. There won't be any commentary during it, but you'll get to see my kind of like fast lapped attempt. Hopefully I get near the 22.8 that I'd done earlier, or beat it. That'd be even better. But I hope you've enjoyed the video. Stick around for that lap time. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I'll catch you boys next time. Peace.